Petrochem is a megacorporation primarily focused on the petrochemical industry, and stands as the world's largest producer of the synthetic alcohol fuel Chew-2, under license from Biotechnica. Chew-2 is a modified grain alcohol and is the primary energy source for the mid-21st century. Petrochem controls millions of acres of arable land across the unincorporated United States, used to cultivate genetically modified wheat for Chew-2 production. The primary ingredient for Chew-2 is a bioengineered high-sugar wheat grown extensively in many countries. Grain fields have replaced oil fields, and large Chew-2 catalyzing plants have taken the place of old oil refineries. These facilities include fermentation and yeast vats where oil tanks once stood. Double-hulled tankers transport both raw and finished Chew-2 across oceans, from farms to refineries, and from refineries to customers. Pipelines span continents, ensuring a steady flow of this essential fuel from refineries and ships to vehicles worldwide. Excess land is used for the cultivation of a variety of food and textile crops such as corn, beans, fruits, potatoes, soy, cotton, and rice. The company also has large herds of beef and dairy cattle in the United States and South America, along with poultry farms worldwide. Their food products are distributed globally for wholesale and retail. These products were primarily sold under its agricultural subsidiary, Continental Farms Agricorp. However, following the Fourth Corporate War, the subsidiary rebranded itself as Continental Brands, separating itself from Petrochem. While Petrochem is still one of the largest oil producers, second only to Sovoil, the dwindling fossil fuel supplies are primarily used for the manufacturing of plastics and other synthetics. To safeguard its vast assets, Petrochem invests heavily in security, employing top industry counterintelligence specialists and maintaining a constant state of high alert against potential attacks from rivals. During the early Fourth Corporate War, known as the AV Gas War, Petrochem and Sovoil exploited the impending conflict by selling almost their entire fuel reserves to Militech and Arasaka, creating a shortage and driving up prices. Despite this windfall, Petrochem's far-flung assets were vulnerable, prompting a general mobilization of its military forces. Although not directly involved in the Fourth Corporate War, the need to protect their valuable wells and fields and fend off sporadic Sovoil attacks left Petrochem significantly depleted post-war. Petrochem began as Parker Petrochemicals, a family-owned oil company based in Texas. However, over the years, the drilling rigs gradually ground to a halt. The oil reserves depleted, leaving the machines idle. The pipelines to the refinery and the shipping ports in Cavstown ran dry. While some oil was still produced in Texas, including a small amount from Parker family fields, it was just a trickle. Now, oil was transported by truck to refineries and used solely for the production of chemicals and synthetics. The former oil fields were either converted to cattle ranches, inhabited by nomad tribes, or left completely desolate. The family had also owned plenty of land, much of which was arable. It was foresight that led Lewis Parker to raise the capital to make an investment to set up a licensing agreement with the infant Italian genetic engineering firm Biotechnica. This led to Parker Petrochemicals becoming the only company in the United States permitted to commercially grow the genetically altered wheat Triticum vulgaris megasuavis, a high-sugar grain which was fermented and catalyzed to produce the synthetic alcohol fuel Chew-2. At first, it seemed like the investment was a monumental mistake. Land was being wasted, money was spent, and equipment sat idle. However, everything suddenly changed. After 5 years of uncertainty, several major auto manufacturers announced they would start manufacturing cars with Chew-2 burning engines. Other automotive giants followed suit. Research began on producing jet turbines that could burn the heavy alcohol, and shipbuilding companies started experimenting with it. Chew-2 was on its way to becoming as essential as gasoline and kerosene once were. Remarkably, Parker Petrochemicals was the only U.S. producer of Chew-2. However, this success brought new problems. At the time, the Parker family didn't have enough assets to secure the deal on their own. Lewis Parker convinced Ellen Trieste, a rich investor, to invest tens of millions of dollars into the venture. While the license allowed Parker Petrochemicals to grow the grain, it was Trieste who now held true power over the company. With a single word, she could pull the license and drive the family into bankruptcy. Not that she was likely to do so. Trieste was set to gain a massive return on her investment, and was also a major shareholder in the company. In 2010, the second corporate war came to an end. Petrochem had lost, and Sovoil became the sole drilling power in the South China Sea and the world's largest producer of crude oil and crude oil products. Fortunately for Petrochem, they still had the world's largest Chu-2 production facilities and a great empire of chemical and materials research and fabrication facilities. The war had put a crimp in the company's fortunes, but not seriously. A few years of slow growth followed, as Petrochem recouped its financial and manpower losses. The war had not alleviated the tensions between the Parker family and Ellen Trieste. Ellen had strongly supported the war, while Trenton had opposed it. For a time, it appeared that Trenton might reverse his losses and take control of the company. But Trieste rallied her supporters and thwarted the coup at the last moment. The animosity between the two shareholders intensified. Yet neither could completely unseat the other, and neither was willing to risk direct action. By the 2020s, Petrochem had become a major global force. It remained at the forefront of chemistry and materials research and production, and it was the world's largest agricultural corporation and leading producer of Chu-2. However, within the corporation, tensions between Trenton Parker's faction and that of Ellen Trieste were at a critical point. Each side was preparing for a conflict that could tear the company apart from the inside. Intrigue and betrayal were rampant. Although Petrochem was never directly involved in the Fourth Corporate War, the need to protect its valuable wells and fields, as well as fight off sporadic Sovoil attacks as opportunities presented themselves, drew so heavily on the corporation that it entered the post-war period seriously depleted. With the collapse of most multinational fuel companies after the war, Petrochem kept the world running. With such vast amounts of interest to protect, Petrochem had invested huge amounts of money in protecting itself, maintaining an armed force worthy of a small country. Today, Petrochem remains the largest producer of Chu-2, and one of the largest food producers. The Corp's strategy continues to be the acquisition of new farmlands, investments in security and technology, and some say, a way to get rid of its reliance on biotechnica. Whether by creating their own version of Chu-2, or simply acquiring the smaller company. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed learning more about Night City and the world of Cyberpunk. If you want to see more videos like this, go ahead and click on the recommended video on screen, or check out the channel. See you soon, chooms!